Peafowl or pea chicken is a common name for two bird species in the genera Pavo and Afropavo within the tribe Pavonini of the family Phasianidae. Male peafowl are referred to as peacocks, and female peafowl are referred to as peahens, although peafowl of either sex are often referred to colloquially. The two Asiatic species are the blue or Indian peafowl, originally from the Indian subcontinent, and the green peafowl from Southeast Asia. The Congo peafowl is not a true peafowl, native only to the Congo Basin. Male peafowl are known for their piercing calls and their extravagant plumage. The latter is especially prominent in the Asiatic species, which have an eye-spotted tail or train of covert feathers, which they display as part of a courtship ritual. The functions of the elaborate iridescent coloration and large train of peacocks have been the subject of extensive scientific debate. Charles Darwin suggested that they served to attract females, and the showy features of the males had evolved by sexual selection. More recently, Ahmad Zahavi proposed in his handicap principle that these features acted as honest signals of the male's fitness, since less fit males would be disadvantaged by the difficulty of surviving with such large and conspicuous structures. A group of peacocks is called an ostentation or a muster. The Indian peacock has iridescent blue and green plumage, mostly metal-like blue and green. In both species, females are a little smaller than males in terms of weight and wingspan, but males are significantly longer due to the tail, also known as a train. The peacock train consists not of tail quill feathers, but highly elongated upper tail coverts. These feathers are marked with eye spots, best seen when a peacock fans his tail. All species have a crest atop the head. The Indian peahen has a mixture of dull gray, brown, and green in her plumage. The female also displays her plumage to ward off female competition or signal danger to her young. Male green peafowl have green and bronze or gold plumage and black wings with a sheen of blue. Unlike Indian peafowl, the green peahen is similar to the male, but has shorter upper tail coverts, a more coppery neck, and overall less iridescence. Both males and females have spurs. The Congo peacock male does not display his covert feathers, but uses his actual tail feathers during courtship displays. These feathers are much shorter than those of the Indian and green species, and the ocelli are much less pronounced. Females of the Indian and African species are dull gray and slash or brown. Chicks of both sexes in all the species are cryptically colored. They vary between yellow and tawny, usually with patches of darker brown or light tan and dirty white ivory. Mature peahens have been recorded as suddenly growing typically male peacock plumage and making male calls. Research has suggested that changes in mature birds are due to a lack of estrogen from old or damaged ovaries, and that male plumage and calls are the default unless hormonally suppressed. Iridescence and structural coloration. As with many birds, vibrant iridescent plumage colors are not primarily pigments, but structural coloration. Optical interference Bragg reflections, based on regular, periodic nanostructures of the barbules of the feathers, produce the peacock's colors. 2D photonic crystal structures within the layers of the barbules cause the coloration of their feathers. 6. Slight changes to the spacing of the barbules result in different colors. Brown feathers are a mixture of red and blue. One color is created by the periodic structure, and the other is created by a Fabry-Perot interference peak from reflections from the outer and inner boundaries. Color derived from physical structure rather than pigment can vary with viewing angle, causing iridescence. Multiple hypotheses involving female choice have been posited. One hypothesis that females choose mates with good genes. Males with more exaggerated secondary sexual characteristics, such as bigger, brighter peacock trains, tend to have better genes in the peahen's eyes. These better genes directly benefit her offspring, as well as her fitness and reproductive success. Runaway selection is another hypothesis. In runaway sexual selection, linked genes in males and females code for sexually dimorphic traits in males and preference for those traits in females. The close spatial association of alleles for loci involved in the train in males and for preference for more exuberant traits in females on the chromosome causes a positive feedback loop that exaggerates both the male traits and the female preferences. Another hypothesis is sensory bias, in which females have a preference for a trait in a non-mating context that becomes transferred to mating, such as Merle-Jacobs' food courtship hypothesis, which suggests that peahens are attracted to peacocks for the resemblance of their eye spots to blueberries. Multiple causality for the evolution of female choice is also possible. The peacock's train and iridescent plumage are perhaps the best-known example of traits believed to have arisen through sexual selection, though with some controversy. Male peafowl erect their trains to form a shimmering fan in their display to females. Marion Petrie tested whether or not these displays signaled a male's genetic quality by studying a feral population of peafowl in Whipsnade Wildlife Park in southern England. The number of eye spots in the train predicted a male's mating success. She was able to manipulate this success by cutting the eye spots off some of the males' tails. Females lost interest in pruned males and became attracted to untrimmed ones. Males with fewer eye spots, thus with lower mating success, suffered from greater predation. She allowed females to mate with males with differing numbers of eye spots and reared the offspring in a communal incubator to control for differences in maternal care. Chicks fathered by more ornamented males weighed more than those fathered by less ornamented males, an attribute generally associated with better survival rate in birds. These chicks were released into the park and recaptured 1 year later. Those with heavily ornamented feathers were better able to avoid predators and survive in natural conditions. Thus, Petrie's work shows correlations between tail ornamentation, mating success, and increased survival ability in both the ornamented males and their offspring. In ancient Rome, peafowl were served as a delicacy. The dish was introduced there in approximately 35 BC. The poet Horace ridiculed the eating of peafowl, saying they tasted like chicken. Peafowl eggs were also valued. Gaius Petronius in his Satyricon also mocked the ostentation and snobbery of eating peafowl and their eggs. During the medieval period, various types of fowl were consumed as food, with the poorer populations consuming more common birds, such as chicken. However, the more wealthy gentry were privileged to eat less usual foods, such as swan, and even peafowl were consumed. On a king's table, a peacock would be for ostentatious display as much as for culinary consumption.